Hi, it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. Glad to be back with you tonight. I thought for my story tonight I would tell another story about when I was a little girl. What made me think of this story was that I was able to visit this evening on the phone with my grandson Kirk and my daughter Cindy. I asked them how things were going. And Cindy said going good, but they had had a very large windstorm Friday. So about 3 days ago. And it was 50 miles an hour. That's a lot of wind. Well, they had been building a shed on their property, which is kind of like a little house. And they had the floor all built, and 2 walls were up, but 2 walls were not up yet. They were laying down on the floor of the shed. Well, that wind came and it slid one wall completely off the floor. But the other wall that was on the floor, it picked up and it blew it across their yard and into their field. I'm glad that nobody was outside when that was blowing that in such a crazy way. And I'm glad that it didn't blow it towards their house and hit their house either. Or their cars. I never thought about that till just now. But it made me think about when I was in first grade. I lived in Riddle, Oregon at that time. And there was a very big storm on Columbus Day that year. In fact, that's what they call it, the Columbus Day storm. I don't know how high the winds were, but the winds were horribly high. So my classroom had big windows on the outside wall where we could see out. And that was really nice. It made it nice and light in that classroom. Well, that day, what us first graders, we would have been 6-year-olds, were seeing was not what we normally saw. It began raining really hard. And so the rain was coming down and coming down and coming down harder and harder. And the wind began to blow, and it was blowing hard. Really, really hard. And then we began to see stuff flying across the road. We saw boards and big tree branches. I even saw part of a roof. I don't know what it was from, but we saw it blowing. Well, that was quite a storm. You don't normally see roofs blowing around. It's not a good sign. So they decided all of us kids needed to get home in the middle of the day, even though that wasn't the normal time that we went home. Well, first graders are pretty small, most of them. I wasn't that small. I was one of the tallest girls in my class, and I was a little chubby. But there were very small children too, because people come in all different sizes and shapes and have different color hair and different color skin and eyes. So I was one of the taller ones and one of the ones that weighed more. Well, we could not go just walking out to the bus from the schoolhouse because it was too windy. We had to wait for a teacher to take us, and a teacher would take one child's hand with one hand and one with another, and she would walk them out to the bus. Well, as I was watching, I began to see the most amazing thing. Those littler children, their feet were getting blown right out from under them, and their feet were up in the air. And the only thing that was holding on to them was the teacher. and the teacher would take them and they looked just like they were flying all the way to the bus. And then they'd get in the bus and they were safe, and the teacher would walk back fighting against that wind, and she would get 2 more children by the hand, take them out the door, and again, I would see children with their feet flying. They were completely off the ground. It was the most amazing thing, and I was so excited. I could hardly wait to fly. Well, it's finally my turn, and I was just, I just didn't even know what it was going to feel like to fly, but it was pretty cool. I wasn't scared at all. The teacher took my hand and another child's hand, and we went walking out, and guess what? My feet stayed on the ground. I wasn't flying, but I really wanted to. So I thought, maybe if I begin jumping. So instead of walking to the bus like I should have been, I began jumping and jumping and jumping, because I thought once I jump off the ground, then my feet will fly. It didn't work, so I never got to fly. I hope that you are never in a storm where you can't keep your feet on the ground. It's really not safe, although it does look fun. So it's Maria from Still Dreaming Homestead. I thought you'd like to hear that story today. And let me know if you've ever been in a big storm and what that was like for you. All right, I want to say I love you, I really do. But more importantly, God loves you, and He always will. All right, if you haven't subscribed yet, please press that subscription button. And if you think you know anybody else that might like this story, share it with them so that they can begin to hear my stories too. All right, good night.